This portion of the John Fredericks Show is brought to you by Hargrave Military Academy. Attend an educational and informative open house event at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia. For more information, visit online at hargrave.edu. Hargrave Military Academy. Build his future.
Every time we have Mai's a straight shooter, Senator from Richmond, the 9th District, Don McEachin. Senator, great to have you with us, as always, right here on the John Fredericks Show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Oh, we always love to have you on, especially during session, Senator. You've always got something to say, and we love you on our show because you are the ultimate straight shooter, no question about it. No gibberish here. We get no gibberish from John McEachin. Okay, so let's go. I got a couple things to go over, Senator. In your Democratic caucus right now, you guys basically take control of the Senate in Virginia. You got to do two things. You got to elect Ralph Northam lieutenant governor. Right now, the polls closer than I thought they would be, quite frankly, in the first week in October. And then if Northam wins, you have to win the special election in his Senate district. But that's, I think, D+5 or something. So you got a pretty good shot there. But here's my question. I mean, everybody expected Ralph Northam at this junction to be very way ahead of Jackson. Polls haven't reflected that. You know, mantra's been, well, it's too early. People haven't focused on it, don't know the names. But we had Dick Sassler on the other day. He said that this big negative ad campaign highlighting some of Jackson's crazy statements are going to be coming on TV. I haven't seen any of it. So why is this thing still close?
Well, first of all, I think it's still close because no one knows the candidates yet. Neither lieutenant gubernatorial candidate has the money that their gubernatorial candidates have, so the ad campaigns will not begin in earnest, I would imagine, for at least another few days or maybe even another week. Mm-hmm. But when that happens, I think it will be an emphasis on our side that Ralph crosses party lines. He brings folks together. He tries to work with both sides of the aisle. He understands that good ideas don't come with an R or a D beside them, and that good ideas only come from vigorous debate, as versus an E.W. Jackson type who will say that Democrats are the anti-God party and make other divisive statements like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no doubt some of the statements that Jackson's made are just I guess politely putting it, they're out of the mainstream. They certainly don't represent anything that I believe or many Republicans that I know believe. I'm not sure who they represent, but not me. That's why I've not been a fan of Jackson for some time based on some of these wacko statements that he's made that I think are harmful. And they don't represent me, so therefore I'm not particularly interested in that. But my question is, having said that, you know, Jackson is outperforming his naysayers right now, no question. What I'm told is that he's getting very, very large turnouts from the rallies that he's having. There's some political observers like Quentin Kidd of Christopher Newport News University who's saying that Jackson is actually helping the Republican ticket as a whole because he's firing up kind of the silent evangelical majority. Do you see any evidence of that?
You know, I don't know that to be the case. I do see an interesting phenomenon here that actually an elected Republican in my area shared with me is that many of the sort of core Republican base has started to rally around Jackson and Obenshain and sort of moving away from Cuccinelli. Look, I'm not on their email list. I don't know what the case is, but what we're concerned with in the Northam campaign is Virginians as a whole, and we believe that Virginians as a whole believe in moderate government. They believe in bringing people together, and that's what Ralph has done not only in his medical practice but also in his practice of politics.
Now, Senator, there's some that are criticizing the Northam campaign as being maybe taking this race for granted, being a little lackluster perhaps. We just had Ben Tribbett on. He's a Democratic analyst. He was critical of the campaign, saying that they're kind of asleep at the wheel and they thought this thing was going to be a walk. It's not. So how do you, I mean, is there plans to get this thing woke up here?
Absolutely. First of all, let me say I respect Ben Tribbett. He's a good friend and a great analyst. But I think the campaign reflects Ralph's persona, and that is he's a doctor with a great bedside manner. He's always calm. He's always cool. He's always collected. And that's what you see in this campaign. We have a plan. We're working our plan, and we're planning our work. And I believe in the next 7 to 8 days, no one will have any doubt that the Ralph Northam campaign is in full effect.
All right, well, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Senator, I thought this was interesting, the lawsuit you filed. I mean, as a journalist, I'm all about transparency, open government. We file FOIAs all the time. I mean, it seemed just mind-boggling to me that basically you filed a series of Freedom of Information Act requests to the Attorney General's Office of Virginia and was told that it was going to cost almost $15,000. I never heard of that. What's up with that?
Well, it was ridiculous. We wanted to get the same information that apparently the Cuccinelli campaign got from the Attorney General's office. That is, they have some sort of timeline that shows when the Attorney General met Johnny Williams and his contact with Star Scientific and all those sorts of things. And they gave that information to the Washington Post, and they said to the Post that, hey, we verified this with the Attorney General's office. So all we did was write for the information and say, well, give us, essentially what we did was write for that information and say, give us that information that supports the timeline. Now, obviously, there was more legalese in there than that.
Right.
But the Attorney General's office responded with, well, that's going to cost you $14,000 or at least over $14,000. So we said that's ridiculous. We went to court. The judge took I'm not the lawyer in this case. I'm the client. So the judge took my lawyers and the AG lawyers into the back room and said, work this out, fellas. And it turns out that we should be getting some information. I don't know what information, and I don't know if we will really get it, but we're supposed to get it by close of business today. And we're paying $25 an hour rather than $14,000 for this information. So I was pleased with what happened at the courthouse. I've been pleased with our progress so far. I'm just sorry that it's had to come to this because, quite frankly, this is information that all Virginians should have access to without paying an exorbitant fee.
Well, that's the objective of the Freedom of Information Act. That's why you file it. That's why you have it as a law. And look, we filed these and we've gotten back things where, they want 10 cents a page or something. So you have to mail a money order for, $50, or I think one time it was like $2.75 if it's multiple pages. But $15,000, I mean, that seems to me like a roadblock, a stall, like they don't want to provide the information. I mean, that just seems to be outrageous. So, but it seems like, Senator, what you're saying, you're going to receive the information in the next day or so, right?
Supposedly, and I hope that actually happens because we need to get this behind us.
Now, how do you know if it's all of it? I mean, how can you be sure that you've gotten it all?
Well, at some point you have to depend on the integrity of the lawyers who are gathering these records together, and there are certain criminal sanctions if for some reason they don't honor a request after we've gotten to this stage of the process. And I don't think that there are any lawyers in that office who want to go up on a pillar for over this issue. So I'm hopeful that we'll get accurate and complete information.
So now, when this originally happened, communications director for the Office of Attorney General Brian Gottstein said in a statement, look, because of the enormity of the request and all the people involved, and everybody has to pull these emails, we calculate it's going to cost $15,000. And now you're paying $25 an hour. At the end of the day, do you have any idea what's going to be the final bill?
I don't, not yet. I don't know what the final bill for the attorneys will be, nor the final bill for getting these records. But I suspect that the final bill for getting these records will be way south of $14,000.
And who cuts the check for that, Senator?
Yours truly, not the taxpayers.
Yours truly.
I don't have a taxpayer account like that, so it'll be coming out of my funds.
So you basically yourself or your paying, however that works. You basically have to pay for the Freedom of Information Act information. And, certainly if it was like a media company, like if I tried to do that, I don't have an extra $15,000 lying around. So, you know what? I think the whole thing stinks. I'm glad that you went to defeat that, and we look forward to seeing that what's in the information. If it all checks out, then you have to ask the question, what's the big deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if there's any smoke if there's any fire where there's smoke. So we'll see, and and hopefully for the benefit of the people of Virginia, there is nothing there. But when you face so many obstacles in getting information, you tend to get a little bit myopic, and you tend to try your very best to get it, and that's what we've done.
Well, look, I appreciate that, and if you find anything, we're going to have you back on this week, okay?
All right. You have a great day.
All right. Senator Don McEachin, State Senator, Democrat from the 9th District of Virginia. That's the Richmond area, and we thank him for joining us today.